Hello and welcome to the Game of Throws Gameweek 7, Gameweek 8 podcast. I'm your host, John, the manager of John Snow FC Football Club, and I've got my two co-hosts here with me. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, it's Mihir, currently manager of Key Carroll.
Hello, this is Nicholas, currently second place.
Okay, so we're going to kick this off looking at last week's games, see where everybody went right and see where everybody went wrong. So the first game that we're going to look at is the match between Greg and Sham. It ended with Sham winning by 55 to 34 points, and Sham's media comments were a problem-free weekend. Just looking at his team, we can see that Maguire had a really good game, scoring 18 points, and Johnny scoring 12 points. Looking at how Maguire's managed to get 18 points, he's scored 1 goal, 1 assist, and a clean sheet, which scored him 3 bonus points. What are your thoughts on that game, guys?
Yeah, it was a pretty convincing victory for Sham in the end. 55 points, pretty good score to get in the game week compared to Greg's.
What's the future for Greg's team? He's not picking up any points.
Well, his defence did quite well. You know, he got 3 clean sheets there, but it was just the midfield and attack really let him down. Team with Sanchez, Morata, you think they'd be doing better, but they're not firing for him at all. And he's got major problems now. He's actually got the lowest points overall with 249, but somehow he's still 7th.
It's the luck of the draw, eh? Luck of the draw. Any points to add, Nicholas?
Yeah, I think 34 is not that bad of a score to have, but just unlucky that Sham got carried massively by Maguire and Johnny there. I think the average score in Greg's team is pretty good. Just these 2 big outliers there from Sham getting the victory. But these are the kind of the star players you need to get you through some of these game weeks. So,
another win for Sham, another loss for Greg. On to the next game. The next game was Abu, Crow Nutters. Beat my team, John Snow FC, by 56 points to 45. In my opinion on that, both managers were very respectful of each other in the media comments. And I think Abu won it by his strike force, actually. His strike force did very well.
Kane got 13. Every week Abu seems to be delivering 7 wins in a row now and 9 points clear at the top. So he's doing pretty well. But John, your team did quite well too. 45 points isn't something to be ashamed of. Just beaten by the better side. Yeah,
I think just beaten by the better side. He's still unbeaten. I was actually confident to give Abu his first defeat of the season, but it just wasn't to be. Why are you laughing, Nicholas?
That was certainly very ambitious. But that's what you need. I mean, if you have the best team in the league, you need that ambition to come through.
Yeah.
Yeah, but looking at the scoreline, 56 to 45, again, like Mihir, just to echo Mihir's point, I don't see it as, a horrid defeat. So
no, they're very high scoring match, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the next game. It was Mihir versus Binesh. So that's Q Carroll versus the Great Balls of Fire. So Mihir took that one, clearly, by 50 points to 29 that Binesh could only achieve. My point that I wanted to bring up is, I'm not sure whether it's the consecutive losses or just that high scoreline defeat that Binesh took there. But in his media comments, he started to interview himself. Question is, guys, is Binesh losing it?
Yeah, it really seems like he is. I mean, the most disappointing fact for me this game week was I couldn't double his points. Getting 29, that's pretty embarrassing. Once again, second lowest game week points in a row. He got 28 last week, 29 this week, and I was so confident I even sanctioned the move for Firmino to his side because it was his side just didn't turn up at all, and then Sturridge he obviously let out who scored for Dan. I also loaned out Sigurdsson for this game, who got 14 points, which was a bit frustrating because if I kept him I would have got the highest game week points overall. But a great convincing victory, up to 4th now, but we're really seeing signs of the Benesh we saw last year, and you're right, he really could be losing it.
Yeah, I think those balls of fire are going out, wouldn't you say, Nicholas?
Yeah, I think it's according to the predictions we heard in the beginning of the league. The first few game weeks were really just out of I don't know. Just pause it. Get rid of it. I don't know where I was going.
Okay,
with that.
so moving on to the next game, which was Dan versus Nicholas, which ended 58 points to Nicholas, 50 to Dan. Very high scoring game. And just looking back, there seems to be a bit of a trend between managers being very respectful of each other. Both seem to be heavily praising one another. One thing that I did notice was that Nicholas thought there was a tactical adjustment when he looked at Dan's team. Can you tell us a bit more about that, Nicholas?
Tactical adjustment
For your team, yeah. You made your you set your tactics based on Dan's team, the team that Dan.
Yes. I've been quite successful by targeting the opponent's fixtures.
Interesting.
But with Dan, you can never really do that because he brings he changes up to 11 players from one game week to another. So it's very difficult to predict the lineup he's gonna bring in the end.
This was another high-scoring game week. Went right down to the wire, went down to the last game, and Van Aanholt scoring for Nicholas in the last game. I think Dan had 3 or 4 players in that game, as opposed to Nicholas having 1. So he did get a bit unlucky, but it was a great matchup. And now Nicholas moves to 2nd, and he's actually doing really well. And he's looking here; he's got a great side: Trippier, Van Aanholt, Aguero, Vardy, all scoring double figures. So yeah, pretty good.
Look at that, Trippier, 11 points again.
Yeah.
Where have we seen that before? Okay, so on to the last match. It was the battle of the bottom 2. So it was Ed versus James. And as you would expect from the 2 teams at the bottom, it was a quite low scoring game. It was Ed's 35 to James nicking it with 37 points.
Yeah. Well, Ed moves to bottom now, but he was a bit unlucky losing by 2 points. Vertonghen got injured for him at half time, otherwise he probably would have got a clean sheet. And in the final game, his players just didn't turn up. He had King, Hennessy, but James managed to win by 2 points, and now 3 players joint bottom on 6 points.
Yeah, very close game between James and Ed there. Lots of emotions, I would assume, as we're already halfway through the second round. Maybe we can see crystallizing who's going to be fighting for bottom spot and for the second round there.
Anybody want to make any predictions?
Ed, I think he could be struggling this round. He does look out of ideas. He's capitulated, giving away half his best players away, so I wouldn't be surprised if actually him or Benesh, one of the 2, will lose this round.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ed on this one. I think it's going to be Ed bottom for round 2.
We can move on to the Game Week 8 predictions.
Yeah, so Game Week 8 predictions. So first game that we've got is Sham versus Ed. And looking at the comments that Sham made, so Sham said, I don't think that Ed's team is strong enough to beat him.
Yeah, but I have to echo those comments. I think this could be a walk in the park for Sham. He probably doesn't need to do much, make any trades, waivers. He can probably beat Ed's team the way it is already. But Ed would need to produce something special to win this game week.
I totally agree. I don't know where Ed's going with this. He's probably going to make Sham look good this week. Being that Sham's just an average team. But yeah, I'm going to go with Sham on this one.
Nicholas, are you predicting?
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one for Ed. My suggestion would be just take the loss anyway. Get a loan deal, trade out the good players you have for this week, take the loss against Sham and try to pick up 3 points next or the following one.
Yeah. So 3 wins for Sham.
There you go. Next game up is Greg versus John. So, Greg, in my opinion, has already conceded defeat. He said, in terms of playing me, it's a good time for anybody to play him. So, I'm going to go with myself on that one. Just looking at the strength in numbers in my team, I believe we've got the best team in the league, and Greg is possibly, marginally better than Ed's team. So
Yeah.
I can predict an easy win, easy 3 points for my team there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be a tough game for Greg. But if his players do turn up, you never know. But same with yours, John. So I think, gonna go for a John victory.
When you say if his players turn up,
Well, he has Sanchez, Walcott, Morata. He's got a good back four.
Mahrez actually, yeah.
Mahrez
you're right.
if he starts.
You're right.
Lloris is back now, so he does have a decent side. And if they do turn up, then he could cause you problems. But I think he should be okay.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Lloris finally being back after going through a couple of escapades there. But I think it's going to be closer than that. So I'm going to go with Greg to win. Just to bring in some controversy.
So 2-1 to John there.
Okay. Next game up is Dan versus James. And James made some pretty catty comments about Dan in the media. He said, and I quote, "Dan, I need to loan all of my players out to beat me because my team is awful." Pretty spicy words, and I kind of see where he's coming from. Dan has been making a lot of changes, and I think there's a few more to come. So, but his team is getting quite strong, so I'd back him to beat James this week. How about you guys?
Well, you never know what team Dan's going to turn up with, so it's actually quite a hard game to predict, but I'm sure neither of them will want to lose. We already know that Dan's been busy in the transfer market already. He's already brought in half a new squad, so it'll be an interesting game. But James is starting to pick up some results, picking some wins, so it's not a game he'll be taking lightly.
Yeah, I think Dan has kind of changed his approach now and started from going from loans to try and rebuild a new team from scratch, and it's looking pretty successful for him so far. So I think Dan will take this one. It's going to be a close one, but I think Dan will take it.
Yeah, I'm going Dan too.
So that's 3 in favour of Dan. Okay, so the next matchup, and might get a bit hostile in here, is between Nicholas and Mihir. And there were some spicy words in the media. So Nicholas said, this is teacher versus master. And Mihir has come back and said, accused of being sold out by Nicholas. So there's a lot of tension riding on this one. But when you actually look at the teams, which I've done, I think I'm leaning towards Nicholas on this one. And going by the track record of when I played Nicholas, I was actually beaten quite badly. So I'm leaning towards Nicholas on this one, actually.
Yep, I think this is going to be a really tough game week. Nicholas has a great squad. He's in second place, quite comfortable. And every week he's had a tough game. He's always come out and delivered. So I think it's going to be a hard game week to win. Relating to the comments for last game week, obviously loaned Sigurdsson and Sanchez to Dan, who nearly got him the victory. So Nicholas wasn't too happy about that. He thought I sold him out, but I actually didn't know when I made the deal that Dan was playing Nicholas, and in the end, Nicholas got the win, so we cleared everything, and we're all good for this week.
So everything's cleared up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fair match between two gentlemen.
Yeah, it should be a great game, and I think I'm going to struggle. So I'm going to give Nicholas the win.
Where's the passion? Where's no faith in your team?
I have faith in my team, but Nicholas has a much stronger team. He's already brought in some new players, so at the moment he has the upper hand.
Yeah, I'm what can I say? I mean, I'm pretty confident in this one. I constantly making improvements to my side, and I was dreading this matchup against Mihir in the earlier game weeks, but gaining momentum over the last matches so far is.
Yeah, and the final game is Benesh v Abu.
Yeah, so Benesh versus Abu. Abu doesn't seem to be worried about Benesh. He just worried about his team scoring own goals, apparently, according to his media comments. So Abu seems to be pretty confident going into this one, and I kind of back him on this one. Benesh, he seems to have lost his team and his mind. I don't know where he's going, but I can see his team heading down the league, so I can see an easy win for Abu and the Crow Nutters here.
Yeah, it's going to be another easy win, I think. He's just going to be untouchable there in his first spot throughout the second round, perhaps as well.
Yeah, I think looking at Abu's team, he does have a couple of players out, so unless he's bringing people in, he's got Eriksson out, Gundogan might be injured. Some of his players have tough game weeks, but I think, yeah, he should get the victory and make it 8 wins out of 8, which means he could go even more clear, obviously with myself playing Nicholas. Could be 12 points clear of one of us, so yeah, we need Benesh to pull something out of the bag, but doesn't look very likely. The key game weeks probably to look at. The key matches this game week. Obviously, Liverpool play Man City, which is probably the biggest game of the weekend. Probably a deciding factor for a lot of our matches. A lot of us have Liverpool and City players, so that's probably going to be the key fixture this weekend. Spurs have a favourable home game, so whoever has Spurs players will be hoping they cash in. So yeah, should be another interesting.
Will Spurs
game.
be able to perform after the beating that they took yesterday?
Yeah, well, they got Cardiff for bottom of the league, and yeah, it doesn't look like Cardiff will do anything. So yeah, should be a good interesting game week.
Yeah, I think Tottenham's going to have a good game.
Okay, guys, so that's 18 minutes into the podcast. Are there any other talking points that we want to address?
I think we need to address the court case coming up. Obviously, John, you have to do a forfeit, but you've kind of voted against that and appealed against it. What would you like to say about it?
Well, due to legal reasons, I can't say too much. But what I can say is that there has been a rule break, and it's just how it's addressed. I think that the roll of the dice, it selected Nicholas, and I believe Nicholas is a good, honest, fair person. So when I bring my defence case to the courtroom, I hope that Nicholas listens and takes it in. Is there any update on how you plan proceedings to run? Is there going to be like a majority vote, or is it going to be your word is final? What's the deal?
Yeah, me being selected as the head judge for the hearing is a great honor, of course, and looking forward to carrying out my duty there in making the best and fair ruling I can think of. And I think there's going to be two approaches here. Either it's going to be a jury involved in the verdict, or it's just going to be a judge ruling. Given that we're kind of going into uncharted territory here, I'm happy to take some suggestions from other people. Although by the time this podcast comes out, it's probably going to be too late and my decision will have already been made.
This is true.
So I'm leaning more towards the judge ruling at the moment, but happy to involve a jury maybe on the sidelines. Let's see.
Well, I'm vetoed, so I can't do or say much, but I would vote in favour of a judge ruling. How about you, Mihir?
I'm still open to. I see both sides of the case, so yeah, we'll see what comes out fair. We've just heard breaking news of the Murga Cup that will be introduced this week, sponsored by Henry Brown, the Make Rondon Great Again Cup. So it's 2 groups of 5, which will battle it out between game week 8 and 12 for the right to battle it out in a 2-legged semi-final. So we have 2 groups of 5. The first group is John, Banesh, James, myself and Abu. And Group B is Gregor, Nicholas, Dan, Sham and Ed. So we already have the first round fixtures in. John playing against Banesh. How do you feel about that?
Well, I beat him convincingly in the league, and I'm pretty sure we'll do the same in the cup. Since I beat him, he's gone on to lose further games in the league, so he's not in a good run of form. As I said earlier, Banesh is losing his team and his mind, so I'm predicting a very comfortable win for John Snow Football Club.
Yeah, then we got myself against James. James obviously beat me last time out, but I'm pretty confident I can get the win over him. It's a nice fixture to have. And yeah, it's the rest week for Abu, and then in the other group we have Nicholas against Gregor. Nicholas, how do you feel about that game week?
Yeah, my focus was still going to be on defending second spot in the league, but I think my recent transfers should pay off, and hopefully this match now against Greg won't be as close as the last time I played him, and it will be a decisive victory to start off the Murga Cup well.
Yeah, it should be an interesting competition, 2-month competition, so yeah, looking forward to it. It'll be nice to win a trophy, and we'll also have 2 opponents to worry about each game week now rather than 1. So yeah.
I think the only thing left to say is we all wish Rondon a speedy recovery, and let's make him great again.
There you go.
Thank you, Henry Brown.
Thanks, guys. Until next week, this has been the Game of Thrones podcast.